Welcome to Debate Combats, where big ideas meet sharp minds under bright lights. Tonight's motion is that public policy should rely on data over feelings when stakes are high. One team argues that logic must lead because evidence sets the floor for fairness and safety. The other team contends that emotion holds truths numbers miss because people live stories, not spreadsheets. Both sides bring a mix of generations and styles, so expect contrasts in tone as well as content. We will begin with the affirmative case from the logic team, followed by the negative from the emotion team. Each side gets a leader to frame the thesis and a partner to drive it home with examples and emphasis. Keep your ears open for clean definitions, crisp warrants, and the kind of humor that disarms without dismissing. Affirmative team, the floor is yours for your opening case.
Our claim is simple, because policy without evidence is guesswork with consequences.
Consider road safety rules that cut fatalities after officials followed crash data rather than intuition.
Define evidence as reproducible measurements that predict outcomes, not anecdotes that comfort our biases.
When cities used controlled trials before expanding cash benefits, fraud fears dropped while employment held steady.
If we weight feelings first, we privilege the loudest voices over the largest truths.
Meta-analyses do not care who shouts, and that is exactly why they protect the quiet and unseen.
Logic is not cold, it is careful, and care is what you owe people when life and money are on the line.
A hospital that follows patient satisfaction alone prescribes antibiotics for colds, and resistance rises.
We are not erasing emotion, we are auditing it, so fear and hope do not cook the books.
Ask the question a statistician asks, which is whether the effect survives a new dataset or just a good story.
Our framework is test, learn, and scale only after results repeat under pressure.
That framework lets policymakers admit error quickly, which is the most humane thing you can do.
If you want fairness, you need rules that do not change when the mood does.
Data builds ramps for equity by showing where gaps are widest, not where complaints are loudest.
Vote affirmative, because compassion without calibration drifts, while calibrated compassion delivers.
Thank you, affirmative, for a case that moved fast and stayed clear. Negative team, please present your opening case.
Policies touch hearts before they touch spreadsheets, so ignoring emotion ignores outcomes.
A program that looks efficient on paper can fail when people feel disrespected, unsafe, or unseen.
Data is a lens, not a conscience, and lenses do not comfort a parent at the clinic or a worker at risk.
When officials tracked only arrest totals, communities felt targeted, trust fell, and cooperation collapsed.
Human beings decide whether to comply, so feelings are not noise but the signal that makes rules work.
Public health succeeds when messengers sound like neighbors, because belonging beats a bar chart at the door.
Averages can hide harm, since the mean can smile while a minority suffers in silence.
If you design for the median patient, you miss the single mother with 2 jobs and no ride to the pharmacy.
Stories are data sets of one, yet each person votes, heals, and learns as one.
A city that measures only throughput forgets dignity, and people do not cooperate when dignity is discounted.
We are not anti-evidence, we are pro-experience, because experience decides where the evidence lands.
Data tells you what happened, but emotion tells you why people cared enough to change it.
Let feelings steer the values, and let numbers check the route, not the other way around.
Vote negative because policy must start with people, and people speak in the language of the heart.
Affirmative, please take the initiative and press your advantage with a focused attack.
When decisions govern millions, a feeling is a flashlight while evidence is the power grid that keeps every light on. If you design by goosebumps, you inherit the biases of whoever got goosebumps first, and you entrench them with a smile. Consider sentencing reforms that used risk models to reduce disparities, because hunches once mapped neatly onto prejudice. Precision does not cancel compassion, it prevents collateral damage by steering benefits to where they change lives. False confidence rises with applause, but true confidence rises with replication, which applause cannot provide. A policy that cannot survive a blind trial is a speech in costume, charming perhaps, but unfit to drive the ambulance. When the budget is finite, every untested program taxes tomorrow's needs to pay for today's theatrics. We can honor stories as hypotheses while demanding results as proofs, because democracy deserves both warmth and rigor. Take the win that numbers offer, which is the dignity of being treated by evidence rather than by vibes.
Negative. You may respond with your defense to the points just raised.
The claim that evidence is neutral ignores who collects it, who gets measured, and who must live under its curve. A model trained on yesterday's injustices forecasts tomorrow's injustices with impressive confidence intervals. People engage when they feel seen, so a program that is perfectly efficient but socially icy will stall at the curb. Trust, not t-tests, determines whether families open their doors to health workers during a crisis. If metrics do not include dignity, they will purchase a decimal place by selling a person's sense of worth. We defend the idea that emotion is a data source of meaning, because meaning is what moves people to act well. An algorithm can rank needs, yet a listening ear can unlock cooperation that no ranking ever could.
Negative. You also have the floor for a focused attack, so please proceed.
Evidence can be a velvet rope, because only the well-resourced can produce the kind of proofs the gatekeepers accept. The lived fear of a night shift nurse is not noise, but a warning signal that a spreadsheet often rounds away. If policy begins with what hurts, then emotion is triage, and triage decides who gets help in time. Mandates that look tidy can fray in real homes, where care work and culture bend rules into workable shapes. We attack the worship of metrics, not the use of them, because worship closes minds while use keeps minds open.
Affirmative. Please offer your defense to the most recent arguments.
Bias in data is a fixable bug, while bias in unchecked feelings is a feature that will not patch itself. The cure for unfair measurement is better measurement, not abandoning measurement in favor of eloquent fear. A listening ear is critical, yet a testing plan is what translates listening into policies that travel. When we pre-register outcomes and share failures, we build trust with receipts, rather than with rhetoric. Dignity thrives when rules are predictable, because predictability frees people from guessing who gets mercy today.
Negative. Present a coordinated attack with leader and supporter in tandem.
Start with a family whose child misses school for anxiety, because a policy that ignores that heartbeat will fail before it prints.
Surveys show attendance rises when schools add counselors and peer mentors, which is an emotional intervention with measurable yield.
If the plan speaks only in rates, the child hears silence, and silence is not a service.
Community-led clinics increased follow-through when staff came from the neighborhood, proving belonging is not fluff but throughput.
Call this the rule of resonance, because a law must ring true in the body before it rings loud in the data.
Even cost-benefit analyses improve when designers start with fear maps and hope maps drawn by residents themselves.
Time, thank you. And back to the affirmative for a paired attack.
Define fairness as the gap between what we intended and what we can show happened, because intentions alone are public relations.
Trial cities that added outcome dashboards cut waste faster than peers, and that is compassion expressed as logistics.
Stories inspire hypotheses, yet hypotheses without tests are postcards from places we never actually visited.
When auditors can reproduce results, the quiet gets served, since performance cannot hide behind charisma.
Let values pick the destination and evidence pick the route, because that pairing keeps us brave and on time.
And let this chamber value the humility to change course when numbers contradict our favorite legend.
Negative. Deliver a two-person defense with one answer and one challenge.
The so-called humility of models often disappears when the dashboard lights up green, so we ask, who gets to declare success?
Answer this. If a pilot works on paper while families feel coerced, will you pause the rollout or call the families irrational?
We accept improvements when they are co-designed, because co-design is how you turn compliance into consent.
Explain why the median deserves comfort, while the margins carry the side effects, and do not say the sample was too small.
Affirmative. Please respond with a two-person defense featuring a clear answer and a sharp weakness probe.
Success is not declared but verified, and verification requires openly shared codebooks, raw tables, and independent replication.
The weakness in the negative case is that feelings are unindexed, making harms hard to locate until outrage goes viral.
We support co-design, and we insist it feeds into tests that protect against our collective wishful thinking.
If the metric omits dignity, add the dignity metric, but do not subtract the rest to flatter a narrative.
Judges, please offer a brief mid-round assessment with strengths and concerns, then encouragement for both teams.
At this moment, I lean slightly toward the emotion side for translating trust into compliance with grace, while I worry that the logic side sometimes sounds like a lab without windows, and I encourage both to braid empathy and evaluation more boldly.
Right now I tilt to the logic team for its insistence on replication and audit trails, yet I see the emotion team exposing blind spots in sampling, and I urge both to design measures that capture feeling without reducing it to a caricature.
For the present, I favor the argument that rules must be predictable because citizens need stability, but I also note that predictability without legitimacy fails, and I challenge both teams to show how their approach scales in messy governance.
We enter round 2 seeking new angles, and the negative has the first strike.
Safety policy should center fear signals from workers, because a safe day feels safe before it scores safe. In factories that honored emotional reports, near misses fell even before formal sensors caught the trend. Anxiety is not a bug to be squashed, it is a sensor evolved by survival, and smart policy reads that sensor first. If dashboards lag, the heartbeat does not, so treat the heartbeat as the early warning that numbers later confirm.
Affirmative, your defense to these points.
Early warnings deserve protocols with thresholds, because thresholds turn alarms into actions without favoritism. We welcome worker signals and bind them to rapid tests, so urgency meets discipline, and neither gets lost. Proactive pilots with pre-specified stop rules respect fear while preventing whiplash from single scares. That is how you treat emotion as a sentinel, rather than as a sovereign.
Affirmative, you also have a solo attack, so please proceed.
Costly errors hide in charming stories, which is why the fairest story is the one a stranger can reproduce. When leaders change, evidence keeps policy on rails, making rights portable across administrations. We should celebrate data not as a dictator, but as a seatbelt that quietly saves lives while we debate destinations. Call that boring if you like, but boring safety beats exciting harm every time.
Negative, give a solo defense to those claims.
Reproducibility without relationship is a clinic with no waiting room, efficient in theory and empty in practice. People show up for people, so hire messengers from the community and your beloved numbers will improve. Seatbelts work because campaigns spoke to fear and love, which proves feelings are not garnish but fuel. Keep the methods, yes, and lace them with meaning so methods have a reason to be followed.
Affirmative, deliver a paired attack with leader and supporter.
Define legitimacy as the moment a policy earns both public consent and empirical confirmation in separate channels.
Cities that pre-registered social programs saw fewer hype cycles and more stable gains, which is civic patience rewarded.
When evidence falsifies our pet idea, the public learns to trust us because we trust the truth over our pride.
That habit is how equity becomes normal rather than seasonal, since proof outlives charisma.
Negative, answer with a 2-person attack of your own.
Start on the sidewalk where parents negotiate school arrival with fear, work, weather, and culture, all at once.
Add that campaigns designed with parents raised attendance when text sounded like neighbors and not like bots.
Averages praised the plan before, but the morning crowd told a different story, and stories decide doors and feet.
We argue that emotion is the compass that points to friction, which is the terrain a policy must actually cross.
Affirmative, I will keep time strictly, and you may now offer a 2-person defense with an answer and a provocative question.
We answer that friction can be mapped and mitigated with micro-experiments that pay respect to lived rhythm while testing fixes.
Here is the question. If feelings point the way, who arbitrates conflicting feelings when scarce resources force a choice?
Our path is to weigh values in public, set transparent criteria, and let repeatable outcomes settle tiebreaks.
That is not cold, it is adult, because adulthood is choosing under constraint with receipts.
Negative. You may close this sequence with a two-person defense that includes a direct answer and a precise weakness call-out.
We answer that conflicting feelings can be mediated through deliberative forums, which then instruct metrics about what to count.
The weakness I see is overconfidence in counting, because what counts is often defined by those counted last.
Design the measure with communities first, and then the numbers will honor, rather than flatten the texture of life.
Until then, your elegant models risk grading people on a scale they never agreed to climb.
Affirmative. Please hold for a moment as we prepare the next exchange and ensure equal time for both sides. Before we move on, I want to check whether either side has fresh angles or unfinished business you feel must be heard.
We have one more point on risk perception, because the fear that workers feel at midnight should not be smoothed away by daylight averages.
We have a refinement on validation, since community signals can be pre-specified as endpoints so feeling is captured without becoming the only compass.
Noted, and we will enter an open exchange with quick turns, sharp focus and respect even when the heat rises.
Your frame treats emotion like interference, yet interference is sometimes the music itself, and people dance or leave based on that tune.
Emotion can be the melody, but policy must still keep time with a metronome, or the orchestra crashes on the first crescendo.
Your metronome was built by people who never played our instruments, so it clicks in our ears while you call the tempo neutral.
We can recalibrate the device with your tempo markings, yet we keep the device, because music without time signatures is noise with charisma.
Charisma did not vaccinate neighborhoods, relationships did, and relationships are shaped by feelings that tell people whom to trust.
Trust grows fastest when we publish protocols, because promises feel safer when anyone can check how the medicine is mixed.
Protocols without consent still feel like orders, and orders breed quiet sabotage, which your dashboards misread as noise.
Consent can be formalized through co-design charters with veto points, and vetoes can trigger tests rather than tantrums.
Tests that start after people feel cornered are bandages on bruises, while tests that start with feelings are shields that prevent the hit.
We start with feelings by mapping frictions, and then we run quick trials, because a shield that shatters on first use is a painted circle, not safety.
Your quick trials often land like pop-up tents in a storm, and the community is tired of holding the poles while you measure wind speed.
Then we anchor the tent with community anchors and we add storm thresholds, because hurricanes should not be measured by umbrellas.
You talk storms, yet you ignore the weather report we live, which says history turns drizzle into floods where we stand.
History is why we pre-weight outcomes toward the harmed, and weighting is a knob you can see and debate, not a secret lever.
A visible knob still rests on an invisible table, and the table is made of power, memory, and fear that never made it into your schema.
We can add power audits and memory audits as named variables, and once named, they can be constrained rather than assumed.
Names help, yet pain does not wait for your variable to pass peer review because life runs in real time while journals sleep.
Agreed, which is why we use rolling reviews with stop rules, because speed with breaks beats speed with prayer.
Prayer is not the point, presence is, and presence speaks the language of emotion, which your models still treat like an accent.
An accent can be standard in the next edition, and the way you make it standard is to write it down, test it, and teach it without shame.
Write all you like, but if the nurse on the night shift feels exposed, the form will be perfect while the corridor stays dangerous.
Then we pay nurses to co-own metrics and tools, which turns a corridor into a lab with guardians who set the terms.
Ownership sounds promising, yet ownership without respect feels like renting with paperwork, and the difference is felt before it is measured.
Respect is operational when it yields predictable recourse, because dignity without recourse is a plaque with pretty fonts.
Recourse that takes months teaches people to quit, and quitting does not show up on your neat outcome dashboard until the harm is old.
Hence early warning through sentiment sampling tied to fast fixes, which is exactly emotion translated into actionable thresholds.
We can meet you at thresholds if thresholds are co-written, because we refuse thresholds that pass audit while failing lives.
Co-writing and pre-registration are compatible, and the combination preserves voice without sacrificing verification.
Verification still hides selection, and selection still hides whose turn it is to be the example, which is often us.
Selection can be rotated through mandated oversampling of previously underserved groups, which makes example a duty shared rather than a burden repeated.
Rotate the burden all you want, yet the first question people ask is whether the rule makers would obey the rule if the roles flipped.
Our answer is to bind rule makers to the same blind protocol, because a rule you cannot dodge is a rule you respect.
Blindness has a cost when the context is screaming, so sometimes the rule must open its eyes and see the person in front of it.
Open eyes can be encoded as exception pathways with logs, which protects judgment while preventing favoritism from wearing a halo.
Your halo talk is cute, but halos are often helmets for the comfortable, and the chin strap tightens when we complain.
Sarcasm heard, and the fix is independent monitoring run by communities, which loosens the chin strap on command.
Independence without authority is a museum plaque, nice to read, and useless during a fire drill.
Authority can be delegated with budget and vetoes can expire unless evidence sustains them, balancing speed with care.
Speed without trust is a siren no one follows, while trust with some delay still saves lives, which is why we keep leading with feeling.
Lead with feeling, yes, and land with proof, because a rescue that never arrives is a feeling that betrayed the faithful.
Betrayal flows both ways, and communities remember the polished proofs that delivered pain with a ribbon on top.
Memory belongs in the model as a penalty term, because repeated harm should raise the bar on claims of improvement.
Penalty terms will not hug a child who is scared to walk to school, and hugs, like it or not, are policy in the body.
Hugs must scale through design, or they remain rare favors, and policy is how you make care ordinary rather than lucky.
Ordinary care feels personal when it works, and the person comes first, which is why we anchor the design in emotion.
Anchor in emotion and sail with evidence, because boats that ignore currents drift, and boats without sails do not move.
Thank you all. We will pause the open exchange here, and I am asking the affirmative to deliver your closing case now.
For the record, the affirmative case showed that evidence is the guardrail for fairness, because tests, replication, and transparent criteria prevent power from dressing up as compassion.
To the judges, please note how our plan preserved dignity by adding community-defined metrics, pre-registration, stop rules, and oversampling, which together convert care into predictable rights.
Negative. Your closing case is next, and please keep it crisp and persuasive.
Our summary is that emotion is not static, but a real-time signal of trust, safety, and belonging, which predicts whether policies land or bounce.
To the judges, we ask you to reward an approach that begins with human resonance and then invites numbers to keep us honest, because people follow rules that feel like they were made with them, not for them.
Judges, we would appreciate a brief evaluation with your current decisions and reasons, and please encourage both teams as you do.
My vote goes to the emotion team for placing trust at the start of the pipeline, because the best design dies without consent, and I applaud the logic team for building tools that the emotion team can humanize with grace.
I award the round to the logic team for its disciplined architecture of replication, pre-registration, and equitable weighting, and I commend the emotion team for insisting that measurement listen as much as it speaks.
I cast my decision for the logic side due to its commitment to predictable recourse and audited exceptions, while I praise the emotion side for reminding us that legitimacy is the engine that turns rules into results.
With 2 votes to 1, the victory goes to the logic team, and congratulations on a hard-fought and illuminating match.
We are grateful for the rigor in this room, and we dedicate the win to the idea that compassion, when measured and shared, grows steadier and wider.
Thank you to our opponents for demanding voice, because their push made our framework stronger, and we promise to keep testing where words meet lives.
We accept the result with respect, and we leave proud that feelings were treated as signals worth designing around rather than as shadows to erase.
Our takeaway is that empathy scales when it meets method, and we will return with new ways to make meaning measurable without thinning its soul.
To both teams and our judges, thank you for the craft, the candor, and the stamina. To everyone watching and listening to the end, Thank you for spending your attention with us tonight. If you enjoyed this debate, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. If you wish to support our work, please use the QR code on the bottom right or the link in the description to donate to the channel. You will also find links in the description to other shows from entirely different series, which we think you will enjoy as well. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and join us for the next match on Debate Combats.